Give the reminder what we did last time. That's what we were talking about. What's up, guys?
Hi. Be a quick one.
All right, Nick, I'm ready when you are.
Very good. It is 7:01, so I am ready if everybody else is. All right, we will call the February 24th, 2025 meeting of the Richmond Zoning Board of Review to order. We have approval of minutes from January 27th, 2025 on the agenda. Any issues with the meeting minutes? Any members of the board?
We're right, they look fine.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make the
One
motion.
item, all those.
It was picking up, but you're good. Go ahead. Thank you,
Okay.
Chris.
Is there a motion to approve the
Yeah,
minutes?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of January 27, 2025.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That brings us to old business, which is the application of Frederick Sindrich requesting an appeal from a determination by the zoning enforcement office with the town of Richmond for the property at 1120 Main Street in Richmond, Rhode Island. Tax assessor's plat 4A Lot 1-1. I see we have counsel for all parties for the board, for the building, excuse me, the zoning official, as well as the appellant, Mr. Ardente. Mr. Ardente, why don't you take it from there?
Sure.
Bring us. I pulled everybody aside a minute ago to get myself back up to speed. It was only a month ago, but why don't you get us up to speed? And I know Mr. Zangari won't be shy to jump in if anything is not to his liking.
Sure. Again, you already said it, Attorney Dan Ardente, the applicant on this one. Where we left off last month, I believe the board took a vote to determine that the special use permit and development plan review wasn't required so long as the applicant satisfied visions of section 18.21.050 A through I, which would be the development standards found in the aquifer overlay sub-district B zone. In order to provide proof of compliance with that, we had submitted an affidavit of Fred Sindrich, the applicant, who can't be with us tonight because he injured his leg. The affidavit itself constitutes testimony for Mr. Sindrich, but just to appease the board and make sure everybody knows exactly what's going on here, Ivan Sindrich, Fred's son, be more than happy to
Sure.
explain to the board why these don't apply.
Yep.
We'll just swear you in, sir. You just raise your right hand for me. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth here this evening?
I do.
Very good. Good evening. How are you?
Good, man.
Good.
I'm Ivan Sindrich, my dad's partner. All right, so the first one, sink drains. Oops, sorry.
I'm just gonna do some qualifying questions
Okay.
for Mr.
Sure.
Sindrich.
Yeah, no problem.
Ivan, are you involved with the construction business that your father is involved with that this building's for?
Yes, I run the
What
business.
position do you serve?
Partner, and I'm basically the I do the day-to-day, manage the day-to-day operations.
And do you have familiarity and knowledge with this property?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, sink drains, the only thing that'll be going in the sink is hand wash, and if there's nothing's gonna get cleaned in there, like chemical wise, and like, I think that's what the, that stipulation is for. Floor drains, there aren't any floor drains in there now, and there will not be any installed.
If I could just jump in,
Yep.
Mr. Zangari, just so the board's aware, I have the benefit of pulling the lawyers aside to get myself up to speed. Correct me if I'm wrong, there's certain criteria in the that's properties in the aquifer overlay district are subject to either satisfying or this board determining that those criteria are not applicable. And we're hearing certain testimony tonight that the criteria for all properties in that zone have either been met or are not applicable. Is that right? or-
You're correct.
Okay, does that make sense, guys? Everybody on the same page? Okay, great. Sorry to cut you off.
No
Thank you.
problem. Am I going too far in depth on this, or is this what you're expecting me, or?
I think you're good.
All right. There will be no indoor store, there will be no hazardous materials on the site. We don't work with hazardous materials. We don't store them. There won't be any. Outdoor storage of hazardous materials, same thing. We don't deal with them. Loading areas. I don't have the loading area. Loading area. Or is it we don't have, I don't even know what
That's for deliveries.
No, it's just for, we bring everything in ourselves. Like my father said, it'll be like, we might have a used toilet in there, or a pallet of shingles or something of that sort.
But there would be no commercial delivery.
No. Dumpsters, we won't have a dumpster there, mainly because I have a dumpster at my garage at the house. My dad's too cheap to rent 2 of them. Exterior catch basins, we have no plans to have them. No above ground storage tanks, and definitely no underground storage tanks.
Okay.
So these don't apply to us.
And that would be the full scope of the development standards that the board and ourselves had agreed to last time. The draft has.
Great. And based on that testimony, Mr. Ardenti, what are you asking us to do at this juncture?
We're asking for a reversal of the zoning boards, or excuse me, a reversal and modification of the zoning officers' zoning determination that this appeal came from. Specifically that this is a permitted use by right. The special use permit not applicable in this situation, and development plan review would not require, so it would not be required for the proposal that the applicant has made.
All right, Chris, do we make specific findings last time? I remember we dealt with this in basically 2 parts. One related to whether or not a special use permit was required. I've reviewed the minutes. I just don't have it in front of me. Where do we leave off?
You did. You made a finding of fact, and that decision was recorded based on the finding of fact. You should do the same thing on this one. So what you might consider is that the affidavit of Frederick Sindrix if you find that that's credible and you find that you give it weight, that can be part of your finding of fact, that the conditions of the APOD district, the requirements A through I, those conditions have been satisfied. So then you'd thereby be modifying the determination that, in fact, yes, as Mr. Ardenti requested, the use is a permitted use by right.
Okay. Any questions of the witness from members of the board? Any questions? Okay, I think it was laid out in an affidavit by this gentleman's father who wasn't here. Who isn't here because of injury.
And Mr. President, and also as also testified live by his son, Ivan Sindrix.
Do we have the affidavit in evidence, or should we just?
I believe it's part of the record. Ms. Hawkins has.
I have a few copies.
As long as we have one in the record.
Yeah, it was filed with the posting with the Secretary of State and clerk base, so we're good to go.
All right. That being said, I'm happy to make the motion that the conditions of the APOD district A through I have either been satisfied or are not applicable. I find credible the affidavit, which was supplemented by testimony here this evening. I found that testimony to be credible, especially the part as to somebody's father being too cheap. It had the ring of credibility to it, as they say. But in all seriousness, I find that those conditions A through I have been satisfied or again are not applicable as outlined in the affidavit. I find based on that testimony as well as the affidavit that the use is a permitted use. And that a special use permit is not required.
That's correct. And maybe you could also do this. You could incorporate by reference the previous decision that you made regarding the modification, which has been recorded. So you can incorporate that decision into this one as well. And together you'll have a complete.
Okay, and I will do just that as suggested by counsel. Those are the findings of fact I propose. Anything I missed, Mr. Ardenti?
Not at this time, Mr. Chairman. I had sent a previous email to board regarding the last decision about some language that we wanted to have amended from the first decision too. I don't know if council got that.
I did receive that. And what I think we can do is for this evening is I will draft finding a fact and decision based on whatever your vote is. I'll send it to Mr. Cozzolino, I'll send it to Mr. Ardenti. I'm sure we can agree to what the terms will be. I'm not so sure I agree because I don't think it's really necessary. I think the parts that Mr. Ardenti was concerned about were the characterizations of certain testimony. I don't think he had any issue with the actual finding of fact, which is really I think,
Correct.
the critical component of the decision. But we will certainly, I'm happy to talk about it.
Parties aren't able to work it out, you can always come back.
I have a feeling
Okay.
we can do
Yeah.
that.
That being said, again, those were the findings of fact. On that basis, I suppose the conclusion of law would be that the conditions of APOD, as I mentioned earlier, are in fact satisfied. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Sean, I think beat you to it. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous, all in favor? All right, very good.
Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adenti.
That brings us to our adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.